an online bazaar where you can find, share and create resources. Looking for the perfect slide deck to ace a presentation? Need smart templates to get an edge at work? Log in to Resorcio.com. On Resorcio, you can find content about nearly every topic under the sun. You can also create and upload content in your area of expertise. From PowerPoints and PDFs to templates and audio, you'll find multiple formats on Resorcio. We're also multilingual, so you have more options at your fingertips. Once you log in, you'll get a bag full of lumens, our virtual currency. With this, you can buy the resources of your choice and get started. Buy, sell and share resources at Resorcio, the online bazaar. Start resourcing today. Resorcio. Find, share, create.
Hello everyone. I'm guessing most of you are law aspirants. Some of you might be in that stage where you're confused, where you don't know what to do, and you might just be here, trying to figure out now what is this law all about. That's also perfectly fine. In the course of the of my presentation, my bit of the presentation, I will also touch upon why this course or preparing for an exam like CLAT is extremely useful, even for those who don't have a fixed law aspiration as such and you're confused. So if you're writing many aptitude tests, how this figures in, how this features in the preparation, I'll be getting into that also later. So as Neetu and Geetika introduced, my name is Nikhila, and I have been teaching law entrance coaching classes, making content for the past almost 13 years. So that's it about me. So what we intend through this webinar is to first of all help you figure out what do you need to be able to, appear for law entrance exam or to successfully enroll into a law course in India. So this may cover various topics like what are the skill sets that are required from you, what are the different exams that happen, all those basic questions, and we are keeping it to a very basic. And of course, Karthik, who is an alumnus of Heritage, he'll also be joining in later explaining his CLAT journey in the sense how he prepared, and he is in the #1 law school in India and how that experience is very briefly, and we'll take on questions from there. So, without boring you guys any further, I think I will just plunge into the presentation and address the points one by one. All right. So, we have kids coming to Heritage, parents coming to Heritage every year who, first of all, most of them are not sure, right, whether law is what they should be doing. So we start from there usually. We help the child figure out initially whether this is what they want to do or, whether this is ideal for them. And only then we take them through the course. So let's begin from that basic question itself. Just a second. So, the most basic first question that most people have is, can I appear for law entrance? What are my qualifications? I'm a science student, I'm a humanities student. What can I do this? Is this for me? So that's the most fundamental question, to know your eligibility. So here, what I have to say is that, see, if you have completed 12th standard, you are eligible for all law entrance exams to 5-year LLB courses. Then you have your 3-year LLB courses, which is for people who've completed their undergraduation. All right. And the best part about this is there is no age limit for applying to these law entrance exams. So even if you are, say, a retired professional, after your retirement, you can still write a law entrance exam and do the course. And similarly, the exams don't differentiate between different streams, irrespective of whatever stream you've done in your 11th and 12th for your 5-year LLB courses, or irrespective of whatever you've done your undergraduation in for 3-year LLB courses, you can still write the different law entrance exams. And honestly, no stream gives an advantage, has an advantage over the other stream. You're all equally placed as far as this exam goes. All right. So their 12th standard can very well go ahead and write the exam. So now we are talking about the exams, right? So which are the main exams? Like I said, there are a different set of exams to the national law schools, to the private colleges, to the government colleges, and of course for 3-year LLB courses. The number of premier institutes that offer a 3-year LLB degree is, far and few. So we will not be focusing much on that today. Let's focus on the LLB courses that students who completed their 12th standard can do of 5 years duration. All right. So the biggest exam as far as law goes is the Common Law Admission Test, or the CLAT. The CLAT is an aptitude test. And if you write the CLAT, you're eligible to get into any of the national law schools in India. In addition to that, there are also many private colleges that take the CLAT score. So originally, the constitution was like this. Each state was allowed to have a national law school, to set up a national law school. But now there are states that have come up with more than one national law school as well. In some states, Kerala is not one of those states. All right. So we have about 28 national law schools right now that are there within the fold. And writing CLAT will get you into any one of them. And like I said, there are many private colleges as well that take the CLAT scores. And this exam happens in December every year. So if you are a 12th standard student who's starting 12th standard in 2023, you will have to take the exam in December 2023. And you will start college in July 2024. That's how it works. All right. Moving on. The second most important, there's no particular reason why this is the second most important. It's called the AILET exam. Now, only one national law university, which is the National Law University Delhi, has not joined CLAT. So they conduct their own entrance exam called the AILET. And it is an extremely competitive exam. Both CLAT and AILET are in fact extremely competitive exams because like Geetika mentioned, about 60,000 children write CLAT, but not children, wrong usage, 60,000 law aspirants write CLAT. And there are less than 2,000 seats in open merit. So that is the seat to student ratio is the reason why it becomes, extremely competitive. The same with AILET also. About 35,000 students write AILET every year, and there are only about 120 seats available in open merit under AILET. All right, so this is to National Law University, Delhi. And then you have your LSAT. The LSAT exam is conducted only to certain private law schools, out of which the Jindal Global Law School takes the LSAT score exclusively. Whereas most of the other law schools that take the LSAT scores, the private law schools also take CLAT scores. So unless and until a student wants to get into Jindal Global Law School, LSAT is not really mandatory. This Jindal Global Law School is considered to be like the most premier law school in India in terms of infrastructure, in terms of a global experience maybe. And also, it is one of the more expensive law schools. Of course, not going into all those details now. So LSAT is another exam that you can take. And then you have your different exams for other government colleges, which are conducted state-wise. Like in Maharashtra, you have an exam in Maharashtra called the Common Entrance Test to the government law schools and private colleges in Maharashtra. In Kerala, you have something called the Kerala Law Entrance Exam and so on. That depends on each state. And sometimes an individual college like the Symbiosis University, they conduct their own exam called the SNAP. All right, which is again another good college. So they have their own exam and you have to qualify their exam and their interview to qualify into those schools. So roughly, if we were to put the main exams into 4 categories, these would be the 4 categories. All right. Moving on. So what is being tested here? Now, that is a very interesting question because most of the people who are appearing for this exam are students who have passed 12th standard, right? And whatever your education has given you from your, say, your kindergarten up to 12th standard, in a way, all of it is being tested, and in a way, none of it is being tested. And that's how CLAT functions. We have the CLAT, and then the CLAT is the common law admission test to the national law schools. All right. And many private colleges also take the CLAT score. Then we have AILET, because National Law University Delhi has chosen not to be a part of CLAT. They're keeping themselves exclusive. So we have the AILET exam, which is only for the National Law School Delhi. So the CLAT and AILET happen around the same time. AILET happens in the first week of December and CLAT happens in the second weekend of December. And this for the 2023 intake, the exam just happened in December 2022. That's how it works. And the skills that are tested for both these exams are largely similar for both the CLAT and the AILET. Then we have the LSAT. The LSAT is to various private colleges, but singularly, there is this college called Jindal Global Law School. They're the only college that exclusively take the LSAT score. So again, they have a great number of seats. They have about 300 to 400 seats. And they have great infrastructure of international standards. So many children write that exam also. It is also one of the more expensive private law schools. So LSAT is primarily for that. If you are looking at other private law colleges, most of them take the CLAT score as well. Then you have other private and government exams. So basically, government colleges in a stage-wise manner, they conduct entrance exams. Some colleges take only your board exam marks. So that depends on a state-to-state basis. So in Kerala, we have something called the Kerala Law Entrance Exam, which is to the government colleges in Kerala and the private colleges in Kerala. And then other national private colleges like the Symbiosis, they conduct their own exam. Symbiosis, to mention one good private colleges that conducts their own exams. So there are private colleges also that exclusively conduct their own exams, and there are some colleges that do their own exam but also take CLAT scores and LSAT scores. So based on where you want to go, roughly, these are the 4 categories of exams that you will have to write. All right. So now moving on to the next main question, right? What is being tested in these exams? Now, if we are going to talk about CLAT and AILET, what is being tested for both these exams are very similar in the sense that it is largely a comprehension-based exam. So being a comprehension-based exam, they don't really expect you to recall things that you have learned. They expect you to read what is given to you, critically analyze what is given to you, and answer based on that. So even if it is a logical reasoning question or a legal reasoning question or an English or a GK or a math question, it is going to be given to you in a comprehension format. So there will be a comprehension passage, and based on that passage, you will be questioned across areas. The only thing that you might again have to recall here is general knowledge. All right. Again, general knowledge is not like the general knowledge that you are used to learning in school, maybe, where you learn a lot of facts and you spit out those facts. That's not the general pattern. Some article or some write-up or some comprehension passage will be given, linking it to things that is relevant in today's world. So what is relevant in today's world itself is like so wide. So then you will have to keep linking to those facts and arriving at the right answer. So like, taking a yearbook and learning the tallest, the largest, the longest capital states may not help you to a great extent, though it will hold you in good stead. That's how it works. All right. So like I said, the only thing you can then again manage to mug up and learn to some extent here is general knowledge. Next is your problem solving skills. Now, there is no description to what kind of problems they can ask you for this exam. This exam does not, neither CLAT nor AILET, have a syllabus. They can ask you anything under the sun. For that matter, any aptitude test can ask you anything under the sun. They only have to tell you from which areas they will be asking you. All right. So for CLAT and AILET, It's just your reasoning skills, your ability to critically analyze what you're reading. And right there in that context, find out from the 4 options what the answer is. Then the last thing, you might look at it and think, what is this now? How can emotional intelligence and attitude be tested in an entrance exam? But that is being tested every year, guys, especially in the past, say, 3-4 years. These exams have come down to that. So it's a very interesting elimination technique that they have. Every year, they will throw some surprise at the students. And those people who get phased because of this surprise, those who get flustered because they're seeing something they've never seen before, a new pattern or something that they've not seen in the sample papers. Now they tend to lose time, they tend to get tensed, and they get eliminated in these exams. And consistently every year now they have been coming up with some surprise. So if your EQ is good, if your emotional quotient is good, if you're not going to be bothered by it, if you're just going to go ahead and still do what you know, you have a better chance of clearing the exam. All right. Funnily enough, CLAT has been doing that. AIR has been doing that consistently every year. As far as your private and government exams go, the last category of exams I mentioned in the previous slide, if you have prepared for CLAT and AIR, those exams are pretty much taken care of. There is just some extra bit of facts that you may have to learn for those exams, and that's it. So preparing for CLAT and AIR takes care of everything else for you, and that is the reason why I am not stressing on what is being tested in those exams. All right. So moving on. So another thing that you need to really understand here is that whatever you've learned in school, right, over these last 14 years of schooling, you need to unlearn a lot of that for an exam like this, because normally as part of our class 12 or class 10 board exams, we have textbooks, we have syllabus, we have important questions. We only need to learn that and we can get an above average grade. This exam is not like that. It's not testing you based on something that you have learned. It is in fact based on everything that you have learned and nothing that you have learned at the same time. So that's a very, tricky place that we are talking about. So first thing that you need to unlearn here is the whole concept of a textbook or a syllabus, and be open to the fact that anything under the sun can come for the exam. And, just keep taking all the surprises that is thrown at you by way of different questions. What skills from your schooling can you use here? Of course, reading skills. You've been reading for all these years, right? That will definitely hold you in good stead. Your basic arithmetic skills will again hold you in good stead. But other than your reading skills and basic arithmetic skills, there isn't much that you're going to be carrying forward from, your schooling into this exam preparation. All right, so that's another aspect where your emotional intelligence and your attitude comes into the picture. If you're willing to unlearn, this becomes easier. All right, now the question that people ask when I say that nothing related to your school, this exam doesn't have syllabus, what do I need to study for this exam? The thing is, you don't need to study for these exams. Okay, you need to learn, yes. You need to build skills, yes. You need to learn strategies, yes. You need to work on your reading speed, yes. You need to work on your calculation speed, but there's no studying involved. All right, especially for CLAT, AIR, and LSAT, there's nothing that you can sit and study. Like I said, for the other exams, little bit of facts here and there will hold you in good stead. But basically, the concept of studying, the concept of writing notes, the concept of, I don't know what, doing impositions when you get your answer wrong, all that does not even work here. Each mock test, like we give over 60 mock tests in our institute, and each mock test will have a completely different pattern of question, which you might not see in the module. Like I said, it is just one question type after the other, one surprise after the other, and how you tackle it. All right. So moving on. So how do you prepare? Right now, that's a super important question. How do I prepare? If there is no, now you might be wondering, like, if there's no studying involved, how is it that, what kind of preparation can come from you? So like I said, this exam is basically a test of your comprehension skills, a test of your reading ability, and a test of your reasoning skills. If you read the paper from front to back, you are not only improving your GK, you are also improving your vocabulary, you are also improving your reading speed, you are also improving your critical thinking and critical analyzing skills. So imagine you read the paper on day one, you're not able to understand anything, very natural. But if you keep reading it consistently, you will start understanding what you're reading. And another point is the editorials in the newspapers are very important. Articles in leading magazines are very important. So this kind of reading, if you're able to do, and if you're able to understand what you're reading, that is a preparation that you can put in. And of course, you have Google at your fingertips. You read something and you don't understand, you can always Google what it is about. So that is the research and that is the preparation that you're fundamentally putting in for this exam. We recommend 2 hours of daily reading practice. But of course, those of you who are in 12th standard may not be able to, may not have the leisure for that. So then read as much as you can. If you can't put in your 2 hours of daily reading, how much over you can? Why 2 hours? Because CLAT is a 2 hour exam, and the discipline of being able to sit and read for 2 hours at a stretch without losing your focus. That is the most fundamental skill that we need for this exam. All right. Then comes the mentored part of your preparation. So, how can you prepare for this exam? How does a mentor play a role? You don't need a teacher per se. Nobody needs to teach you anything here. You only need a mentor who's able to understand your strengths and weaknesses, who's able to help you make up for your weaknesses and add to your strengths. So when you do sectional tests, practice questions and mock tests, and then you review them, it's the doubt clearing session and the strategies that you work on with your mentor and the review of the mock that you do on your own. These are the things that are fundamentally going to help you prepare for the exam and ace the exam. All right. So for this exam, you will not be learning notes. You will not be learning from a textbook. You will be learning by doing a lot of practice questions one after the other, reviewing them and clearing your doubts and moving forward. So that's it very briefly about the exam. Okay. This is about the different examinations. But like I said, if you have understood what CLAT and AILET is about, and if you're preparing for CLAT and AILET, the rest of the exams will be a cakewalk for you. Trust me when I say this, you don't really need to focus extra on those exams. All right.
Mr. Karthik, would you like to share some of your experiences with us till Nikhila ma'am will be back? Could you please take over now? Thank you, Karthik.
Yeah. So hello, thanks for inviting me. I'm Karthik, and as she mentioned earlier, I'm on second year law student at National Law School, Bangalore. So I completed my CLAT 2 years ago. I got third rank in CLAT, and I did LSAT 2, which is the exam for general, as she mentioned earlier. So I'm here to talk about my preparation journey and my life in NLS right now. So I was also very confused if law should be the right option for me, and I decided to go for CLAT coaching in 11th. So I did CLAT coaching in 11th and 12th, but I was not very sure if law was the way to go. That's why I took biomaths and science as my course in 11th and 12th. So in 11th, I'll talk about my preparation in 2 stages. I'll talk about my preparation in 11th and my preparation in 12th. In 11th, I joined Heritage, as I said earlier, and I went to classes and I paid attention in classes. I asked a lot of questions in classes, and classes were very interesting. I had offline classes, so they were pretty interesting because you discussed with each other, you debated topics, political issues that are around you, and these are important as you will learn for the exam too. So other than going to classes and doing modules that that Heritage folks gave me, I read newspapers too. So this is something that I suggest that everybody do because of 2 reasons. Newspapers are good for you for cracking the current affairs sections of the exam, but more than that, it also improves your comprehension skills. More than that, it also improves your comprehension skills. CLAT is an exam which is heavy on reading. So you have all the sections of the CLAT, as she will explain later, is based on reading. And so if you read newspapers, this will definitely help crack all the other rest of the sections too. Sections of the CLAT too. So how do you read newspapers? So I'll tell you about my experience. I read the Hindu, which I'm sure all of you know. So you skip the part on local and state news, and you go to the national news. You read sports. Probably, if you are interested, you can read business and economics, and you read global. But most importantly, you read the editorial section too. The editorial section is the huge, boring section in the middle of the newspaper that all of us tend to skip. But this is probably one of the most important sections for CLAT. And because it's boring, you got to read it too. And another newspaper resource that I used was Indian Express. So if you download the app, there's a section called Explained. It's called Explained so it explains, basically, as the name suggests, it explains different current affair news items that come up. So you can, for example, if you get a question, if the World Cup is going on right now, for example, they'll explain how the World Cup was started, when was the first World Cup, and things like that. So one of the most important things of reading the newspaper is not just to read it. One, you got to remember important dates. It's not like reading a novel. You're supposed to remember important facts, questions that could probably come, and you got to research about some important topics. For example, I'll take the example that came in the last CLAT exam, which is CLAT 2023. So one of the questions was about the election of the president. So I'm sure all of you know that India's president, President Murmu, was elected last year. And this was something which was discussed everywhere in our country, and it came in the newspapers repeatedly. So you're not just expected to know that a new president was elected. You're supposed to know about her history. You're supposed to know where she was born, for example. You're supposed to know about the presidency of India. So you're supposed to know what the first president was. You're supposed to know election for the president was conducted. You're supposed to know which article of the constitution creates the president. So basically, you research a bit about any topic that comes in the newspaper. So if you find a headline, you just don't ignore the headline. You don't read it and you forget it. You're supposed to research a bit about it. And what is going to help you do it? It's basically your curiosity. So if you find anything, think about it, ask questions about it, and you can get more information. I think Nikhila ma'am is here right now, so.
So I invite Karthik now to just very briefly explain his CLAT journey, what he did when he was preparing for CLAT, and he's studying in one of the most premier law institutes in India, and what that is like. So on to you, Karthik. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So as I said earlier, in my 11th, I started going for Heritage. I did classes. Secondly, I read newspapers. So as I told you earlier, newspapers are extremely important. Nikhila ma'am also mentioned them. I read two newspapers. I read the Hindu, and I read the explained section of the Indian Express that you can find online, or you can find on the app, on the Indian Express app. And I also mentioned that you don't just read a news, you're supposed to research a bit about it, and you're supposed to be curious about it. So, for example, today, I'm sure all of you know that General Musharraf of Pakistan died. So you're supposed to know he was a dictator in Pakistan. You're supposed to know when the period of his dictatorship. You're supposed to know the present dispensation in Pakistan. You're supposed to know the relations between India and Pakistan recently, and other events that have played in, other wars that have been fought. The Kargil War, which is fought between India and Pakistan when Musharraf was in charge. I'm not sure if you know this, but recently India and Pakistan had a clash on Indus Water Treaty. You're supposed to research about news that come in the paper, about things that are discussed regularly by people within the country. So other than that, you do sample question papers, which are called mocks. You get them online. So if you're in your 11th, you can do at least twice 2 mocks per month. I think this would be enough. And if you don't know any of this, and if you're in 11th, you must at least start reading. And she mentioned 2 hours of reading. I would say, yeah, 2 hours of reading is extremely good. If you can't do 2 hours of reading, just start reading and read something that you find very boring. So if you find non-fiction boring, if you find history boring, just read a book on history and try sticking to it. This will ensure that, because CLAT has a lot of passages, some of them are going to be very boring. And if you don't like it, but you still have to read it, I would suggest that you start practicing that too in your 11th. In your 12th, you're supposed to be a bit more focused in your preparation. So you obviously attend classes, you read newspapers, but also you're supposed to do more practice lessons. So for English and logical reasoning, I would suggest that you do GMAT questions. That's what I did. And for maths, if you're a bit weak in maths, just do questions that. So you should know that only 15 to 20 questions are gonna come from maths. So even if you're weak in maths, that should not worry you. But then I would suggest that you do a few practice questions in maths every day. You can take any book on quantitative aptitude that you can find and keep practicing. So I used a book called Haris Agarwal. Other than heritage materials, I used a book called Haris Agarwal. And you can keep practicing with these questions. And that can also help you. So even if you're weak in maths, and this is only for CLAT, even if you're weak in maths, this shouldn't worry you. You can just keep practicing. And I mentioned mocks. So as I said, mocks are these sample papers that you can find online. And they are important because you will get the experience of sitting and writing a 2-hour paper, which is extremely tiring. But more the practice that you do, the easier it becomes for you. I would suggest you complete the entire paper on 1-2 hour session. You don't break it down. And after you complete the paper, you find out where you went wrong, why you went wrong. So this is where, as she mentioned, you need a mentor. And this is where Heritage also mentored me extremely well. So if you find that you went wrong in the question, you go ask people why you went wrong there, and you try to figure it out yourself. If you can't, you ask people questions. So basically, that's my journey for CLAT. I would also mention LSAT preparation. So LSAT preparation is nearly this extremely similar to CLAT preparation. Other than that, you can solve a few sample papers that are available on the LSAT website, and this can and you don't have to worry about LSAT because LSAT is a very extremely easy exam. One more thing that I want to mention is that you should all try solving the CLAT past year papers. So just try solving the 4. You can find these papers online. Just try solving them because they will give you a fairly good idea of what the CLAT exam will be. So as she mentioned, I'm studying in National Law School in Bangalore right now. And I would say that it's a very good experience because the academics is a bit, it's a bit tiring, but we have one of the best faculty in India. Jindal also is extremely good faculty. They have global faculty. And NLS also is pretty good faculty. One good thing about NLS and other NLUs is that the peer group that you would interact with, your friends, are going to be extremely good. They're going to be competitive too, and that can help you improve yourself, and it will certainly increase the quality of your interactions. Of course, law school is not all about academics. It's pretty fun too, and best of luck.
Thank you, Karthik. So I think that will be it from our side. I invite you all to please clarify, ask us any questions that you want to. Based on what the question is like, either Karthik or I will take it, depending on whose area of expertise it is in. That's about law school life, things in law school. I think Karthik is better equipped to take it at this point of time because I passed out too many years back. All right. So yes, please open for questions.
Okay, Nikhila ma'am, that one doubt someone who has just typed me and sent me is that Is there any scholarships that are available for students that can't afford a course?
Okay, all right. So, first of all, I didn't go elaborately into the fee structures in this because I was not sure to what extent of detail we should be going in. So CLAT is an expensive course. The national law schools are expensive, which means fees in most of the colleges come between say 2 to 4 lakhs per annum, and that's not reasonable. So to the national law schools, yes, there are scholarships that are available. So there are scholarships instituted by private agencies to deserving people based on income criteria, and there are also performance-based scholarships that the law schools themselves give. All right. So loosely, these are the two categories of scholarship. But again, I think I would like if Karthik could also take this question and talk about the scholarships that one can avail even after going to law school. Karthik?
So it depends on the community that you're from. So there are quite a few minority and reservation quota based scholarships that you can get. You can also get private scholarships like Aditya Birla Scholarship if you're in the top 20 of the batch. I mean, in the top 20 of the batch in the CLAT ranking, and also each NLU as and the CLAT from PDM generally as a consortium as a scholarship portfolio. So once you get into the college, once you are in the admission process itself, you can ask for scholarships. Even Jindal, for example, even private law colleges have a certain degree, they have scholarships.
Yeah, thank you, Karthik, and thank you, Nikhila, ma'am. So, is there any other doubts that you guys have? Please do feel free to ask.
Excuse me, sir, I have a doubt. Does a degree from a national law university help in civil service examinations?
Okay. All right. So yes, it does. So based on this answer is entirely based on my conversations with different people who've appeared for the civil services, the UPSC exams. And I hear this feedback that it really helps them with their general studies paper, and also those who want to take up law as a subject in their mains. I've heard from students that the curriculum that the national law schools follow, you do more number of papers, and the methodology and the approach to subjects that are, that you do in the national law school makes it much easier for you to prepare for your mains when you have chosen law as your subject. So it is a very common practice for people to complete law and then write their UPSC. Even if you look at the track records of the various leading national law schools in the past few years, every year they also have a sizable representation in the UPSC results. All right. So if you're taking law as your main subject, definitely it will help.
Excuse me, ma'am. Whose mock do you recommend? Like which mocks? From where do we get the mocks? What's your recommendation for that?
That's not a question that you should ideally be asking me, because I represent a coaching center myself. So I would obviously say my mocks. But yeah, that aside, I cannot answer that for you. But honestly, I really don't think there will be a huge difference in the kind of questions that can be asked from institute to institute. The difference comes in the mentoring that happens. Secondly, now this is something that we tell our students. If you are using the material of one institute, please stick to that institute. Don't use the materials of multiple institutes, because we are again coming back to the most important point, which is mentoring, which is your reviewing and your doubt clearing. That is where your real growth and progress is going to happen. So stick to one institute, because your mentoring will be more uniform and consistent. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nikhila ma'am, another question that just came up is like everyone is trying to ask: is it a tough course to learn? Like, is law a tough course to learn?
Okay. See, if you are somebody who enjoys being on your, like, learning. You're not going to be taught anything by professors. There's not going to be any spoon feeding. You go to college and you research on your own, and that's the way of learning that happens in a law school. So if you are somebody who's comfortable with that method of learning, if you are a self-motivated learner, it is a great option. And of course, you should be willing or ready or have the patience to be able to sit and read a lot of material at once. But I think I would like Karthik also to give his perspective on this question. Karthik?
So it depends on the law school that you are going to. So, for example, I can talk a lot about my law school. We have a bit of a different structure. We have 3 trimesters per year. So I won't say it's a very easy course, but then it depends. So if you're interested in law and if you're willing to put in some time, it's going to be okay for you. It's not going to be very difficult. But again, I won't say it's extremely hard to pass either. So if you put a bare minimum of effort to it, then law can be easy to pass. If you want to score pretty good grades, then you will have to put in effort. But again, that depends on the law school that you go to. So I would say that you don't have to worry about it. If you are actually interested in law, then law school is not going to be hard for you. So again, don't worry about it right now.
Thank you, Karthik. We have one more question on the chat. If you suggest doing CLAT first or trying the entrance in May if I'm going to the 12th, ma'am, please.
All right. So this is, I will first very briefly tell you the difference in the prospects between these colleges. Okay. CLAT is considered the most prestigious. CLAT and A.L.L.B are considered the most prestigious and the most premier. All right, that's the equivalent of, say, studying in your IITs and IIMs. The equivalent in law is your CLAT law schools. So if you are aspiring to get into a national law school, if that's your ultimate aspiration, it makes more sense to, write the CLAT in December. And then based on your ranks, whether if you clear it or you don't clear it, based on that, you can choose to write the other exams. Keep that as a choice in case you don't clear CLAT. All right. But having said that, different people function differently, right? So first of all, if you just want a law degree, if it doesn't matter to you where you're learning from, one thing. Secondly, if you know very clearly that you're not after international placements or international postgraduate programs or corporate placements, you just want to go by just, I'm not belittling it or demeaning it in any way, but if your ambition is to go practice in a trial court or high court, it doesn't really matter where you take your degree from. It only matters that you have a degree. So it depends on your aspiration. So if you have already decided that it's a trial court or a high court that you want to go to and you just want a law degree, or for whatever reason it might be, you just want a law degree, then it makes sense to, write the exams that are coming up in April, May, get into any private college or government college that you get into, and then continue the course. Then a third option is, again, depending on your attitude, how you function. Some people might be very stressed to, sit out a year and write CLAT in December. So you might still want to have a backup. So if you want to create a backup by, getting into a private college or a government college, that is also an option. You can create that backup by writing the exam in May and then have that backup in hand. And along with that, you can just prepare and write CLAT in December. So at the end of it, that depends on your aspirations, your goal, and how you function. But ideally, if CLAT is your aspiration, it makes sense to, prepare for CLAT, focus on CLAT and A.L.L.B, and you will know your results by December end itself. So you will know whether you will need to write those private and government exams in April, May or not. All right, that's what I would have to say.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And ma'am, just one final doubt that we have seen that there is a lot of private law schools and a lot of government law schools that is there out there. So in your opinion, what is the main difference between these private law schools and?
Okay. All right. So there are very few Okay, the national law schools, maybe Jindal, are the ones that are going to give you placements for sure. Okay, so people who want placements, people who want that, the national law school degree certificate, that certificate does have value. Okay, that is the value of the certificate. All right. Would opt for national law schools and Jindal, but again, Jindal is not affordable to all. It's extremely expensive. National law schools, again, like 60,000 people, right? And only about 1,800 people have seats. So that's also not an option for everyone. So then you come to private law schools and government law colleges. Now, as far as private law schools and government law colleges go, barring a few private law colleges like say Symbiosis or UPS, Dehradun or Narsi Monji, you don't really have campus placements in most of the private law colleges. Similarly, in the government law colleges also, you don't have the concept of campus placements that exist. But of course, a government college degree is indicative of the fact that you have secured that degree through merit. So at least that value is there. All right. And the fees will also be lesser. So like I said again, if your ambition is to go practice law in a trial court or high court, it doesn't matter where you pass law from. Only thing that matters is what kind of internships you do and what your personal skill set is. But if you're looking for placements, then ideally you should be going to a college that offers placements. And right now it is the national law schools and Jindal, and very few select private law schools that offer placements. So largely this would what the difference would be.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Rohit.
So, is there anyone who have any doubts to clear? So, I hope that's it.
So I have one more doubt. Does all the national law universities have the same syllabus, or does it vary from university to university?
Okay, so I'll take that question. See, the Bar Council of India mandates only about 35 papers that you have to do, and most of your government colleges do only those 35 papers. But national law universities are autonomous in the nature that, see, they are compulsorily expected to do those Bar Council of India mandated papers. But how they do it, what should be covered under it, beyond the basics mandated by Bar Council of India, is entirely left to the law school. So not only that, they have other than these certified papers or other than the basics that have been mandated by BCI, they can do whatever they want. So not only that, the law schools vary. Each professor has enough autonomy in most of the law schools to teach what they want to teach and to test you in whatever manner and to mark you in whatever manner that they want. So uniformity ends with whatever basics are mandated by BCI, but over and beyond that, there won't be much of a uniformity.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
So I hope everyone have cleared their doubts. Okay. Is there anyone who wants to ask any more questions or doubts? Okay. Okay. Thank you, Nikhila ma'am. So we are extremely happy and proud to announce the successful completion of this webinar here, so which has been conducted by Heritage in association with Resorcio. And we are really happy to express our happiness and gratitude to all of you who have attended this webinar, and hope this session have helped you in some way or the other. So I'd love to use this opportunity to thank Ms. Nikhila Ramesh, Managing Partner, Heritage Online, for making this webinar a great success. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your knowledge and to encourage all those young law aspirants out there. And thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Rohit. Thank you so much.
Okay. Now I would like to thank Karthik J Lal, who is an alumni of Heritage and who is also the 3rd rank holder in the CLAT 2021. And thank you for finding your time to share your valuable experience with us. It was a great opportunity for us to talk with you as well. So thank you, Karthik. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. And finally, I would like to thank Ms. Geetika Sudeep, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Resorcio, for providing us with this wonderful opportunity and a platform, and for working with us throughout to making this webinar a huge success. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Rohit, and thank you, Team Heritage. It was extremely interesting even for me to listening, and very excited for all the young people who asked all those questions. So all the best to all of you aspiring lawyers as well.
Thank you for the opportunity, Geetika.
Okay, so with this, we have reached the end of our webinar. And once again, I would like to thank everyone who appeared for this webinar. And thank you and have a nice day, everyone. Thank you.